The long-awaited Kenobi series is just around the corner, and with the long-awaited reunion of Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi and Sith Lord Darth Vader on the near horizon, many fans can't wait to see this rematch between the Jedi Master and the Dark Lord. It has been teased that not only will the iconic duo have a reunion, but a climactic showdown engaging in a battle that is set to be one of the most iconic duels in the history of Star Wars lore. However, some fans actually are quite a bit concerned about this, and many are left to wonder if this damages the continuity between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. And while many of their concerns are well founded, it seems unlikely that this duel will impact the previously established canon of the Star Wars universe that we know and love, and we're here to explain exactly why today. So let's explore today Acolytes of the Galaxy Far Far Away, and let's explore the evidence presented in Revenge of the Sith, A New Hope, and the content in between to deduce exactly how a duel like this can take place without impacting the current continuity of Star Wars. First, let's cover exactly what we know about this period of time. We know that after delivering a baby Luke Skywalker to Owen and Beru Lars, Obi-Wan proceeded to build a life for himself on Tatooine, keeping an eye on Luke from afar in accordance with Owen's wishes. While we know he's come into conflict with Jabba the Hutt's criminal empire, the Sand People, and other deadly factions and beasts across Tatooine, there is little evidence to suggest that he left the desert homeworld of the Skywalker family. However, there is some evidence to suggest that Obi-Wan may have actually left Tatooine at some point during his story, and we'll make sense of that in just a moment. Several weeks ago, we conducted a full breakdown of Obi-Wan's first 10 years in exile, and if you're interested in exploring some of the exact events that took place, be sure to check out that video as well, as we know that the Kenobi series will roughly be taking place 10 years after the events of Revenge of the Sith, so if you would like to catch up with the Jedi Master, that's the video to watch. We also get reacquainted with Master Kenobi in Rebels, where he meets Ezra Bridger and subsequently kills Darth Maul. These events take place roughly 4 years before the events of Rogue One and A New Hope, and shows no evidence that he's left Tatooine since we last saw him in Revenge of the Sith. However, this doesn't mean that the Jedi Master didn't. The primary line that is most often pointed to, however, takes place in A New Hope, when Vader seemingly senses the presence of his former master as Obi-Wan and the crew of the Millennium Falcon first board the Death Star. There are a few possibilities as to how this line still fits in with the current continuity in the current Star Wars canon. The exact line states that Vader has sensed something that he hasn't felt in some time, and believes it to be his former master, Obi-Wan Kenobi. The reason this makes sense is that he is referring to a presence that he last felt during their last encounter, and seeing as he never finishes the line, it's entirely possible that he was referring to their last duel. Not necessarily the duel that took place in Revenge of the Sith, but the duel that will take place in Kenobi, as the time difference between the events of A New Hope and Kenobi are quite substantial, with around another 10 years passing. He states that the last time he felt this tremor, he was in the presence of his former master, but he doesn't give any indication that he's referring to their duel on Mustafar, and may be referring to the events of the upcoming Kenobi series. Vader also states that when he left Kenobi, he was a learner, but now he is the master. This is interesting because in Revenge of the Sith, Anakin was not the one to leave Kenobi after their duel, and it was instead the other way around, with Obi-Wan leaving Anakin. Vader was left with severe burns to be recovered by the Emperor, while Obi-Wan was the one to walk away from Anakin. And while it's possible he was referring in general to this leaving the Jedi Order, the recontextualization could indicate that he was referring to where he actually left their final duel in Kenobi and not the events of Revenge of the Sith, and that he may have left the encounter on a much more victorious note than what we saw in Revenge of the Sith, which I believe is likely. There is, however, another more complex reason that we'll be discussing now. However, we believe that this first explanation is the most likely. The second explanation is that his line about sensing a presence is not actually regarding Kenobi at all, but it is actually referring to an old theory that revolves around the reunification of the Skywalker twins, two of the most powerful Force sensitives in the galaxy. A prevalent theory that was once a fan favorite was that while Leia was not on the Millennium Falcon, her being on the Death Star and Luke being on the Falcon puts the two in closer proximity than they'd been ever since the events of their birth. And this may in fact have been the tremor in the Force that Vader seems to have sensed. And although this theory no longer seems to hold any weight, it could actually change with the context coming from Kenobi. The original line before it was redone states that this is the last time he felt this tremor, and that he was in fact in the presence of his old master when he felt it. And until now, this seems to have been a possibility, seeing as he was in Kenobi's presence when he nearly killed Padme and their unborn children. But with their next encounter set to take place, this theory seems less and less likely. Now though, based on what we know from A New Hope, Revenge of the Sith, and all of the material in between, I would like to speculate exactly what we know about the upcoming duels in Kenobi, as it has now been confirmed that there will in fact be 2 duels, not 1, and that Vader and Kenobi will encounter and fight on 2 occasions in the series. The first being that Obi-Wan seemed to have had the upper hand against Vader, with Vader stating that when he last left him, he was the learner, but now that he is the master, indicating that Obi-Wan had some form of trickery against Darth Vader. I would be surprised in the series though if Obi-Wan is able to directly defeat Darth Vader in a lightsaber duel, as he very narrowly defeated Anakin, and I do not believe that in his aging that he would be able to take on a prime, angry Darth Vader. This means that somehow Kenobi will trick Vader in some different way and ultimately come out victorious, with Vader being left the learner and Kenobi the master. We also know that their duels will likely not take place on the planet of Tatooine, as Vader simply hates Tatooine, and he also does not suspect Obi-Wan nor Luke to have been hiding out there. This indicates that the duel will ultimately take place somewhere else, which is very likely, seeing as it's apparently now confirmed that only the first 2 episodes of Kenobi will be taking place on the desert world, with Kenobi venturing off-world in hopes that he can ultimately protect Leia, who seems to have fallen into some form of trouble. In the end, there is nothing that occurs in A New Hope that directly contradicts the events that will occur in Kenobi, as it does make sense that the last time they encountered each other would be approximately 10 years before they encounter each other yet again in the Obi-Wan show, as Vader never directly states anything, nor does Obi-Wan, that the last time they saw one another was in fact on Mustafar, with them each stating that it has simply been some time. But this isn't all we know. We also know that Obi-Wan himself will have a philosophical change when concerning Darth Vader, as all through the original trilogy he believes that Vader is beyond saving and that Anakin Skywalker, the boy he trained, is completely gone. According to a lot of plot details about Kenobi, this is not how he will ultimately start the series, believing that there is still some good in Anakin, the boy who he ultimately trained but did betray the Jedi, but that Vader over the course of the series will ultimately prove to Obi-Wan that Anakin is completely gone and now it is only Vader, with Vader doing something directly to Obi-Wan to prove this point, and for Obi-Wan at the end of the series to lose all hope at the idea of Anakin ever coming back. But anyway, my friends, I hope this video makes sense and gives a little bit of more insight into the continuity of Star Wars lore leading into the Kenobi series. But ultimately, what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on the Kenobi series and the fact that Obi-Wan and Vader will encounter each other yet again? And what are your thoughts on the fact that the 2 of them will apparently duel twice? How do you feel about both of their mindsets ultimately shifting and changing for the series? And do you think the dialogue now said in A New Hope still ultimately holds up and makes sense? As always, my friends, thank you guys so much for watching the channel. May the Force be with you, and I will hopefully see you in the next video.